Hello everyone and welcome back for another episode of Indie Impressions. My name is Nick and today I'm going to be showing you guys Toki Tori 2 Plus by developer Two Tribes. This is a really interesting little self-described as a Metroidvania puzzle game. And I have to give you a couple of caveats before we get started here. Number one, I actually spent about an hour with this one to get familiarized, because I know I've had plenty of past experiences with puzzle games. Didn't quite work out, so I wanted to make sure I didn't run into any dead ends or anything like that. And I'm proud to say I didn't really anyway. But, you know, I didn't want to take that chance. So this isn't really my first impressions, but at the same time, I'll be going over it sort of in that vein. I shouldn't have any trouble sort of remembering a lot of the things that I hit along the way. Number two, Toki Tori, the original one, I haven't actually played, so this is my first foray into this game. I'm not sure exactly how it's different from the original, but there are a lot of very cool game mechanics in this, and if there is more to it in the original, I'm kind of curious to know now. So anyway, let's just get right down to business here. So we've got this little chickeny guy, and I'm using the 360 controller to control this. There are absolutely no tutorials overtly spoken to in this game, and part of the magic to it is as you progress through these environments, everything is sort of revealed to you in a contextual way. You actually learn as you do, and I think it actually goes so far as to teach you the game in a very intuitive and kind of fresh, unique-ish way. Alright, so before we get started, let's go over the controls real quick. So we've got just a couple here to speak of. We've got a stomp, which right now is mapped to my X button, and causes specific actions to take place depending on what you're using the stomp on. And then we've also got a chirping move, which is sort of like in maybe Ocarina of Time, you might remember, where you could learn certain songs. And in fact, on our start menu, you'll see there's actually a number of little slots that we're going to put those songs into. You'll see those all across the side there at the bottom. So you can see if you just tap the A button, you do a little note, which always ascends, and then you can do a big note if you hold the button a little longer, and that always goes down and descends. So the combinations of those are how you solve, or not so much solve as can activate or do certain actions depending on things you find. Anyway, so that's really all there is to talk about as far as the controls, and they actually managed to make that go a pretty long way. So we'll navigate the levels, meet some new characters who do different things, and collect some little stuff. Maybe find some checkpoints, solve some puzzles. It's going to be a good time. So this little purple guy over here, he actually shows up as a pretty valuable member of our Toki Tori team, and we'll meet him in proper pretty soon. So anyway, we'll just smash through that, make our way to the checkpoint, and here begins the game. So essentially every level, as far as I've been able to tell, it involves a bunch of traversal mechanics, and you're basically solving puzzles to get from point A to point B. Picture something like Super Mario World minus the jumping. So if all the jumping puzzles were essentially just platforming, but reverse. So in this case, all the platforming were just puzzles. Anyway, so let's see about possibly dealing with whatever's going on over here. So we've got a crab. And this is where you essentially are going to intuit how these effects work. So if I press the A button, it attracts him closer. If I press the B button, it pushes him away. You'll see there's also a range around my tweets, which this other guy over here wants to echo whatever I do. And you'll see he also has a range. So there is actually a bit of a sound mechanic that's used here, and it's sort of in a Mark of the Ninja fashion. And here's our title card. Lovely, very high production values, I have to say. The graphics in this are very, very smooth. Everything's very, very high resolution. Lovely sound, and generally lovely audio. And in general, just everything just feels really polished and cohesive. And from what I can tell, this game is massive. Granted, I did only spend a little bit of time with it, but from what I could tell, there's probably a lot of hours worth of stuff to see. In fact, on the Steam page for this game, they basically dare players to check out everything there is to offer, so I'm kind of interested to see how far that can go. So I mentioned it's something of a Metroidvania game, and I'm not sure exactly to what end that exactly manifests, but if I were to guess from what I've seen, I'm going to assume there are probably some abilities you can earn later on that will allow you to progress through the stages in various different ways. So this is a case where we can use our stomp to knock down these bamboo shoots and make our way down through a different path. See, if I had the ability to maybe cross some of the ways up top, we might end up in a totally different route. However, right now that does not seem to be the case. So this is where we're going to meet a couple new friends. That little bird here, of course, is one of our friends too. But he's not all that talkative. He mostly wants to hang out down there. Can I chirp at him? Is that something I can do? No, he doesn't seem very interested in talking to me. That's okay. We got our frog friend right here. And he actually does some special stuff as well. If I stomp, he's going to shoot a bubble out at us, which allows us to actually cross some more vertically oriented terrain, and he's going to become a very popular friend for us to hang out with later on. So in this case, we actually need our frog friend to meet our purple fruit friend, and when those two combine, it's going to give the frog a bubble. Now I can actually pull the frog in a various direction, one direction or the other, by tweeting at him, depending on the direction I actually need to go in, and then I'll lead him to bubble me up in that direction. So far everything's pretty well done. There's a new friend up there. We've got this mother bird who is very overzealous about grabbing anything she can find and bringing it back to the nest. She just wants to get all of her chicks and put them in the nest. So right now, since I'm wandering around in the tall grass, she's not going to be able to see me. But if I go up on this ladder here, all of a sudden I go into the line of sight of this character, and you will see actually most of the different characters have some sort of a line of sight. And I love this little like worked up sweat explosion coming from the top of the bird's head. It's like, oh, I'm stressed out, I see the bird and I don't know what to do, because I'm tweeting ferociously at it. Anyway, so let's take the ladder up. We've got another situation where we need to somehow get this fruit friend up at the top here to fall down, and then the frog should be able to do something with it. So best thing I could think to do, just butt stomp, and frog is going to be instantly attracted to that. And then once I know how to tweet it in the other direction, becomes pretty simple to solve there. So a lot of this stuff is, right now, just sort of tutorializing the basic mechanics of the game, and this is part of the brilliance, I think, of what makes this fun, is that you don't really understand that these are mechanics as you're learning them. You just sort of put them together a little bit as you go. So you got a whole bunch of these little, like, titmouse birds hanging around, and they all want to tweet, which is fine. See if I can tweet at them, and then they all do little flips, which is a lot of fun. There's a lot of really cute things that go on in this game, and I find the visuals to just be very charming in general. It doesn't take long before you're sort of sucked into the world, and there's a huge variety and diversity in the landscapes and general layouts of what I've seen in the level design. Granted, they all seem to capitalize on a lot of similar game conventions, but I find that the way they've laid them out is actually very, very smart. They're always quick to introduce some new things before anything gets stale. And when you combine that with the lovely visual design, the aesthetics, and the sound, I think everything comes together really, really nicely. So what do we do about this situation? Well, as long as we go just one tile, we have no problem traversing this, but we can't stay underwater for too long, otherwise we actually drown, which is a little sad. So you're this happy little chicken thing, and then you sometimes end up underwater. But anyway, so what we need to do here is we need to wake up the purple fruit guy. Frog's gonna grab it, and we should be able to actually use our bubble to go grab this little artifact up at the top, provided it does shoot us directly in the right direction, and it does, so all is well. I'm told later on you can actually use the fact that you got your fur wet by wandering into the water to solve other puzzles. It's just like so many little things you might not think actually play into the actual game conventions that end up doing so. Alright, so now we're presented with another situation, and essentially that's how the game seems to go. You wander from one puzzle to the next, looking for different ways to traverse things. So now this frog is just going to keep jumping out of the nest, this bird's going to keep grabbing it, and I think I'm just going to stand out in the clear here and see what happens if I do that. So we've got a purple fruit guy up at the top, or maybe pink is more the correct color, and he doesn't actually jump off of ledges the way the frog tends to, so now we're just going to let him grab the purple fruit and make a bubble for us, and everything should be all good to go. Alright, we've gotten that next little artifact, and that should lead us to our exit door. Now I have to wonder if there are other places I can go in this level, but maybe we will come back and visit it at another point. I'm not sure how that works. So, there we go, we've reached the end of this. Usually Metroidvania games, in my experience, tend to be like one big open world, and I'm not saying this isn't, but it does seem to be split up into like a big hub world that has different sections or nodes on it that we seem to be able to go, looks like multiple paths on, and although I've only been able to actually find one path, maybe if I were to make a different decision, I could end up going in another. Alright, so now we're on the second area here, and I don't even know if the right thing to do is to call them areas. It might be more prudent to just call them zones within the area, or within the larger world. So now we've activated a beacon, and we can see the scope of the map zooms out a little bit, and trust me, it actually zooms out even quite a bit more than this. I'm not sure if the clouds are covering things, but there definitely is more to the north. But hopefully we will get far enough that we'll be able to see some of that. So what is this little beacon? Does it do anything? Sometimes these teach you songs, right? No, this one didn't seem to do that. So let's just continue on. We are within the tall grass here, so everything seems to be copacetic with that mama bird, so we're just going to keep progressing onward in this fashion. Looks like we've actually activated, looks like a little vantage point. We can see something off in the distance there, so maybe we'll actually get to head over in that direction. So we want to attract this little purple guy over to the frog and solve this pretty similar puzzle that we've seen, but now what's different is that we actually have to deal with this little ledge. These guys don't by default jump off of ledges like we established before, so this is teaching us now that we actually have to stomp them off the ledges, and then we can use them to create the bubble as we often have. So nothing particularly brain-melting about it, but at the same time, very subtly it's teaching you things that you may not have even realized you needed to learn. So now we've got another crab in a box, and every stomp is going to knock him a little further over. I think we should be all good to just pull this guy out of the next area, and yep, he'll fall down. And what we needed to know was if we had fallen to the left. Actually, maybe I should just do that so we could show you the mechanic of what happens here. Our bird friend should show up. There he is. And he's going to teach us a song to get us out of the situation. Essentially, this is sort of like the restart song, so we just do 2 littles and 2 bigs, and that should send us back up to the last checkpoint. So now we know. So we can press pause to see the rewind melody, and now we know how to get out of that if we happen to push ourselves to a position where we can't get back out. Hopefully not a thing we have to use too regularly, but, you know, good to know regardless. And now we'll keep moving to the right here. What do we have this time? We've got a little bit more water, another checkpoint. And it looks like a whole bunch of crabs all hanging out in boxes. I don't know why crabs like boxes so much, but trust me, it seems like their favorite home. So if I am directly in line, you can see the radius on my tweets there get right in line with where that crab can go. And we're just going to push them all, or pull them all rather, into this hole. And then we should be able to use them to cross that hole. There we go, and 1/2 height seems to be just the right amount to jump up to. I mean, it's kind of interesting that there is just no jump option. I mean, it seems like a platformer by all accounts, but just kind of isn't, which is kind of cool, actually. Makes you think a little bit in different angles that you may not normally think in. So we've got another frog and fruit situation. How are we going to deal with this? We've got to get the frog, perhaps, to cross one of these spots, because if I push this over too much, I think that's not going to really work out. Right, so if I what if I squish this guy up against the wall? Oh, okay, he's going to respawn over on the right, so maybe we actually did want to do that. And we'll stomp him down. Frog should pick him up just like that, and then we should be able to actually just stomp and get another bubble out, which will be enough to get us up that little ledge. And on to the next puzzle. So there's actually some fireflies you'll notice up in the top corner. They're actually an element that shows up a little later on, but for now we don't have to really worry about it. So we're going to do a little stomping, knock this little purple guy onto this ledge, and now what we need to do is use our tweet to pull the crab actually over to this point, and then we can actually use a stomp to push him over to the other rest of the way. And then this guy should actually have no problem if we, yep, just push him over to that ledge, and he should walk to the edge, stomp him over the edge, and all is well. So the frog should actually, as soon as he turns around, make line of sight on him, stomp, and get a bubble out of it. So provided, yep, the diagonal works just fine, and we will fall down this little pit. There's actually a little bit more going on here, and this actually shows us there is a light mechanic as well. And in this case, I don't think there's a whole lot I could do. Maybe if I were to grab the fireflies, I could have brought them down here. Actually, I'm pretty sure that is correct. We just needed to get... Yep, that would be another way to get out of this puzzle in a different manner. So if I would have brought the fireflies down by tweeting at them over and over again, I could have brought them into this pit, brought them over to the side here, and perhaps cast enough light by stomping and tweeting to actually send that little purple guy to get a little closer to us, pulled him down by stomping, and then I could have actually created a bubble with this frog and flown up and to the right. Since I didn't bring the fireflies down, though, I missed that subtle little element that means we're actually going to have to progress the normal way. So these are all mechanics you learn later on, but at the start you have no idea about any of this stuff. So this is all sort of emergently learned, or contextually learned is probably the better way to put it. So I can go left or right in this case. Not sure which way to go, actually. Let's see what we can do down here. Alright, that guy's actually going to jump down, make a bubble, and I'm pretty sure that is actually the right way to go, so I'm going to check to the right first then, and see if there's anything accessible on this end, and there is. There's actually a little piece right here I wanted to collect, and we should be able to attract this little crab guy over to the wall. where I can then use him to climb up. And there actually seems to be a few more puzzle pieces to grab here. I'm not sure what we call these little artifact bits, but they are our collectibles, as it seems. So all these birds want to grab stuff and put it in the nest. I'm not sure if there's any real reason why I would want to necessarily do that, and there definitely appears to be more going on over on the right there. So who knows, maybe there's even another path. But that is kind of the interesting thing about this game, isn't it? There's so much to see and do, and it's not all readily apparent. I really like the fact that they don't hold your hand in this game. It lets you discover at your own pace, and once you come back, you get that really nice gestalt feeling of having figured something out on your own, which is just, it's all too uncommon at this point in video games. I'm not sure why that is. I guess as a whole, to appeal to larger masses, we felt the need to go in that direction. I always sort of felt the contrary. I think it's really nice to get that feeling that you figured something out on your own. So I'm really glad and refreshed to find games like this still exist every now and then. So we've got a mama bird there who might want to talk to us about carrying us up to stuff. Oh, and we can drop off all our puzzle pieces into this little obelisk here. And that appears to have done something for us. What did it do? I actually forgot. Oh, okay, so it looks like we've activated one of the glyphs on this four-directional door, which we will hopefully be finding out more about in the distant future. So there's a little bit of mystery going on here. I have to say, it definitely does grab my attention. So what can I do with this if I wanted to proceed to another position? It doesn't seem like a whole lot, because right now the mama bird will not find us if we're in tall grass, no matter how much tweeting we do. Maybe we can lead her over here, though. I wonder what that would do. Yep, okay, so let's grab... Oh boy, there's lasers. I'm not sure if we wanted to necessarily get involved with lasers. So this is uncharted territory for me. I'm not sure where we're going with this, but let's stay in the moment. Grab a bubble, go for a flight. I'm not sure this is where I wanted to be either, though. What's down here? Oh, lasers. Okay. Yeah. Oh, that's a teleporter. Alright, totally got way ahead of myself. I probably shouldn't have done it. Anyway, it is interesting, though, to know that there's more to see. Let's just see if we can just head back down. Yeah, it does appear that we can. And we'll save that point for later on, so maybe just a little bit of a teaser there so you get the idea that there's more to see and do, depending on your approach on the level. So we will continue to make a path, heading up and to the east. And that will introduce us to a new area. So what area is this going to be? We've got a little bit of a crossover, like pond, cattail type vibe. I know for a fact if I go down here, that is going to be the end of the line for me, am I correct? It appears there's a giant eggplant and a kingdom in the background. And the little bird friend wants to tell us to get lost and head back to the beginning, which I will comply with, because there doesn't seem to be a way to proceed forward. So anyway, as long as I go... Oh, not there. That's exactly where I needed to stop, actually. So let's do that song one more time. Sorry about that. As long as we stop right before that ledge, we can actually pick up this piece. There we go. And we don't actually have to go back. So this should introduce us to a new friend over here in a moment. First, though, we need to attract this crab who is going to fill up this little space for us. And moving on. So now we've got these little guys, these repeater beetles, who have a few conventions to them. The most notable, though, is that they actually will echo everything you do. So if you tweet, they're going to tweet, and so on and so forth. And that one actually is a little sad. That one actually just got pushed and crushed under that box. But they are a pretty valuable friend to have, and they also have another tendency that if you stomp near them or directly on top of them, they'll actually flip over. And this is actually what they're trying to introduce us to right now. If you stomp right on them, they flip over and they will repeatedly make the tweeting sound, which will keep attracting the attention of this frog, who will keep going back and forth and never actually escape this cycle. So we're going to stomp, and then he will stop tweeting, and that will allow the frog to actually reach this point, and eventually reach this little guy down here who's going to be necessary to progress onward. So let's do a little stomping and bring the frog back out. And provided he's not under that little canopy, okay, that's not really probably going to work. So let's actually, let him get that out of his system, flip the frog, and stomp, and bubble. Okay, perfect. I imagine if you strategically set something up, you might be able to actually end up on top of this whole platform area. Maybe save that for another day, though. So onward through here, and I really like how this is just this big like sprawling environment. You never feel particularly like you're hitting any dead ends. There's not really very long loading screens. There are a few every now and then, but they don't really get in the way. And these little electric beetles are nothing but trouble. I don't know what to do with them other than just avoid them, so we're not going to bother with them. Oh, can't get me. I'm in here. Alright, so the thing that we have to do here is, as you'll notice, a very concerned mama bird who wants to grab me and put me in the nest. And what I need to do is get to the right. So in order to get through that situation, we're actually going to have to put out a distraction in the form of this little guy. So once the mama bird is distracted, I should have no trouble getting on to the next area. Right to a checkpoint right away as well. So now, what do we do here? So we've got to get up to that checkpoint, and it looks like, well, we just had a checkpoint, right? So obviously, we're going to have to find the long way around. So going upward, going upward, going upward, and all these electric bugs are here for a reason, I'm sure. And we'll see if we can figure out what that reason is. So this little obelisk has shown us there is a bit of a path up and to the right, so maybe we'll end up exploring some of that in a bit. So we've got a frog here with a bubble. And what do we do with frogs with bubbles? Well, we stomp, let the bubble go, and the frog is now mobile again, and let's bring him down. So the developers have really capitalized quite well on every little convention that you could imagine. Oh, we actually need to, not stun, but tweet him in the other direction. All these little subtle bits and pieces about all these characters is built up little by little, and there are little nuances to each character that you may not notice right away that will end up coming back to help you solve a puzzle. For example, flipping over the beetle. I mean, yes, they did sort of tutorialize it, but at the same time, you didn't really come up with a lot of uses for it yet, and later on that will become the case. So what do we do with this situation? Well, we definitely need to cross this gap, right? So, maybe we could we attract this crab? Yep, okay, so the echo from this horn beetle down there is going to be able to solve that problem. And, oh, no, we need to have him on board. Let's go back. Get him in there first, and tweet. Alright, now that's going to pull us back across, and we should be able to cross this gap. I do just need to stomp very briefly here, and the frog should grab him, and allow us to tweet, turn him in the right direction, stomp, and up we go. So it's amazing how much you can get out of these two simple controls, a tweet and a stomp. It's a lot, actually, and there's a lot of depth here. So maybe I can grab this puzzle piece, collectible, there we go. Gotta be fast. Although there may actually be a reason that I want to get picked up from that bird, and the reason is actually that that is the only way to progress forward, but I did want to grab that piece first. If we were too hasty, we would have missed out on it. So moving upward, we have got, there we go, a couple more electric beetles with no real obvious way to jump over right now. So I guess we have to proceed to the right and grab another puzzle piece. This is, again, reinforcing the fact that we do need to lead the mama bird out of the tall grass, which is not really that big of a deal. Although it wants to take us awfully far. Can I get up here somehow? I wonder. I don't think we can get the frog and the purple guy together at the same time. Oh, well, the bird's going to take care of that for us, apparently. So we will just go with the flow. I'm sure there were some other paths we could have taken in this case. Does this go anywhere if I just let it? No? Okay, the bubble only lasts for so long anyway. Now we've got some water we got to worry about, because if you stay in here too long, that's not going to be good for us. Can I stomp? And okay, so I could just bubble and get right out of there. You'll see the environment actually appears to be changing a little bit, which is kind of a nice touch. And we're encountering some waterfalls. And again, still lovely music. Uh-oh. We've got some corruption of some form, which we need to watch out for. And apparently maybe that crab was guarding out for that, or blocking that progression. So we've got a little bird sitting on a sign that tells us that there seems to be something to the right. So we're going to try and head in that direction. It doesn't seem like I can do a whole lot other than fall down here, so let's see what happens. Oh, well, Mama Bird's going to protect us. And Mama Bird seems to have a whole little exchange program going with other Mama Birds. So we're going to need to get some frog action up here, and perhaps if we could just pull him in this direction, maybe one of the other birds will actually do something to help us out. Well, actually probably not right away. I think I probably have to grab... Oh, no, leave me alone. Let me go. A whole lot of frogs and birds going on here. Oh, no! They won't let me fall. I need to get all of them distracted. I think we've entered an endless looping situation here. That one seems to be good. Alright, there we go. Alright, so that's what we were missing. We needed to grab this guy off of the ceiling here. And one of these little birds is definitely going to... Oh, well, I don't know if I wanted to do that, actually. What actually happens if I do that? Maybe there is another... Oh, no. Alright. I may have just broken that puzzle a little bit. I may have to go back. Oh, no. No, the frog's actually still got his bubble. No, you leave me alone for a second, please. Go away. All of you, just go away for a second. Alright, I need a bubble, please. Thank you. I wonder if there's a way to actually get the birds all distracted and fall all the way down that waterfall. I'm gonna bet there probably is. But that's why I love it. There's all these little interesting ways to proceed forward. And this bird is actually giving me a hint. What is it? Too big, too little, too big. You don't do a lot of tweeting other than just to grab the attention and stuff, but I'm wondering, what is this going to do? Oh, okay, well, it's going to give us a much expanded viewpoint here, and it looks like we've just entered the giant map from Link to the Past or something, which is quite a lovely change. So we've got a water zone, temple-ish type of area with some caves going on the right, and a huge, crazy volcanic crater on the left, which I'm very excited to explore, and then some sort of a township in the middle, which I'm pretty sure is what we saw in the background with that eggplant, and all the other chickeny-looking birds hanging out. And you can see the little areas that we've been that have been covered with feathers down below. So there's a lot of branching paths and a lot of little beacons that I want to try and explore. But we'll maybe just do 1 or 2 more levels here. Pause to see the location melody. Right, so it just wants to make sure we know about that. And also, if you use the right stick, you can look around. I'm not sure how useful that is, but still kind of a cool touch. There may be areas later on that we need to know about that for. So we're going to make a path onward. And we're going to press A and see if that takes us... Alright, we're into a lovely, pristine, crystalline cave. Oh, well, alright, now you're going to see what it looks like when our birdie drowns, unfortunately. It's a little bit like in Sonic the Hedgehog. I'm trying to tweet, there's not a whole lot I can do. You can't really do much of anything, actually. You can't even get yourself out of that situation by, like, warping back out. You're just sort of stuck. But anyway, we have this little crab guy to help us out with that problem. And we also have this horn beetle here who is going to copy our call, and no problem, that puzzle was not even that big of a puzzle. Let's knock that guy away, and the weight of him actually raises this guy up. And what do we need to do now? We need to actually probably push this guy over and see if we can get him involved with this platform here. Because the cool thing about these beetles, they actually will stay up on top of the water, so that's actually a big help for me. Now that his location is directly horizontal from the location of this crab, that means that it will actually activate the crabs. You do need to be directly in line with them. So if I press B, that's actually going to push him further away. Press A to tweet, that's going to attract the crab, so on and so forth, and we've got a moving ladder of sorts. And onward and onward. One more should do it, because the bird doesn't really have any means to float to any great degree horizontally. So this is a really cool combination of all the different chunks of puzzle that we've seen so far. So right here, I actually can't get off this ladder, and all I can do is tweet. I can't stomp because there's no ground here. So we're going to have to deal with this over to the right. Now, how are we going to do this? Well, I can attract the crab by pressing A. That's not really going to help me out in any specific way, though. So the other option is I can push the crab away, and there's a ledge right here, which is going to give us just enough that we should be able to use the horn beetle. So if I pull him back over... Now head back up. Yep, there we go. So his cry is actually going to attract that crab, and I am now able to get over top of everything. And just to be nice, I'm going to flip him over. Not sure if that was a good or bad idea. It may not have anything to do with anything. And thus ends another little puzzle. These puzzles were a little bit more challenging for me going through it the first time. I had to take a moment, and I actually kept falling in the water on the one with the like moving stepladder thing. And now we enter something much, much more mysterious and a little bit menacing, which is kind of one of the cool things I like about this game, is the tone actually does shift a bit. It's not all happy, cheerful, although it does definitely create a bit of a vibe that is present throughout. It reminds me a little bit of some of the art style from maybe some of the Rayman games. So you'll notice our bird is actually quite frightened of the dark, and especially when he sees that there's all this crazy stuff going around. So what am I going to do about this situation? Well, let's see if anything happens. There we go. So if I tweet, it activates a whole bunch of fireflies who will light up and prevent those scary mask faces from doing anything particularly nasty or menacing to me. So now we'll have to deal with what does light mean for all of our animal friends that we've come to know and love through these last little levels. So you'll see the area where that little purple guy is, the eggplant guy is wandering back and forth. You'll see he's actually presently in light, and not all of the creatures are. That actually does make a total difference. You'll see they're totally stressed out. They're kind of freaked out. Their eyes are all bugged. and they don't really respond to stuff the same way they used to. So these guys are kind of stuck right now until we can maybe do something to help them out. So what do we have that we can do with here? So we've got a frog down here who's petrified of the dark. We've got some mass over to the right. We've got a checkpoint and a ladder. So all we really can do is get involved with the light and try and grab one of these. And this, if you remember, is the crumbly floor, so if I press B to stomp on it, that actually does let the light on through. So that's going to present us with some new puzzling mechanics. And if I stomp him, yeah, that should roll him out of the way. And now we can get the frog and the plant dude together to do our usual puzzle combo, which is to create a bubble from this. And that should push us over just far enough that we'll be able to get to that checkpoint. So what do we do here? Well, now we've got a situation where the masks are only going to be bothered when there's light around. So if I were to wander into this guy, instant death. Can't do that. Alright, so we've got to find another way to deal with him. And the way that we do that is we tweet, and the little fireflies come and hang out with us. Now, the fireflies have a very small viewing radius, so we've got to stay right within their light. I should say light radius, not viewing radius. Or, you know, viewability radius. And they will lead us over to a very concise and clear victory. So not much to deal with this particular puzzle. Still introducing mechanics. Everything seems pretty easy. But what do we have over here? So we've got a little bit more to do with light, and we can tell that there is a scenario here where I can't get quite high enough unless I get this crab involved. To get the crab involved, he's kind of grumpy. He doesn't want to do a whole lot. It's dark. He can't really tell who's calling him. He doesn't know what direction it seems to be coming from unless I am standing in the light beam. So that is your clue there. You can see there's a very, very short time where you'll see a little transparent line drawn from the crab to me when I tweet. And that is his line of sight connecting. So that's how you'll know what's going on with him. So if I stand in the light and stomp, everything is normal. So you just got to keep things in the light and keeps people happy. So now we've got another light problem here. I got to get the light down far enough, and simple as stomping. Nothing particularly difficult there. And maybe I can get some of these guys involved, because we're going to need to get past another mask, or whatever we want to call these guys. And that shouldn't be too big of a deal. Yep, so as long as he's wandered in the correct direction, everybody should be happy. So what if I stomp here? Is that going to attract him to the light? Yes, it is. And now we've got a few things going on, a little bit of a larger area here. And there is a ladder leading up, and the music just kicked into high gear, which is kind of a sweet little moment. You'll see there is a light source up above, and we've got this little dynamic platform which is blocking the light from reaching the frog below. So as long as I'm in the light, I should be able to call him over, and that's going to set the frog in motion, and hopefully that should get him far enough that he can be attracted downward, down to this little purple guy here, and then we can do our usual bubble dealy. Yeah, I think I want to head up and to the left, actually. So Frog, you come over here. You want to hang out with me, buddy? Can you make your way through this gap? Are you scared of the dark? Yeah, you kind of are, aren't you? Alright, so what can we do about that? He doesn't seem interested right now, so let's pull the crab guy over here, and let's have this cross the gap entirely. Alright, so that does make it more shady over here, but that's okay, because we're actually going to open up another light source to bridge the gap between the two. So that's as simple as calling this crab man over, and then reversing this platform yet again. So you'll see the puzzles are starting to compound on each other and get a little bit more clever. And once we've added the element of light, I think things start to really kick into gear, and the emergent nature of the puzzle starts to become a little bit more evident that there's a bit of, you know, serious thinking going to be involved here as we proceed onward. Alright, so a whole bunch of light sources dancing around for us, just to give us a lovely little send-off here. And we have one last puzzle, I believe, before this wraps itself up. This one's a little bit more complex, actually. So this one, we actually have to deal with these fireflies moving around in a much more dynamic fashion. The mama bird will only grab us when the fireflies are involved, and the mama bird will only drop us on the nest, of course, and there happens to be a light source on the nest. So as long as we stay out of the light, we should be able to lead them around wherever we want, and they won't bother us. But we also need to get this guy involved, and to do that, we need to get the firefly here, and send it up into this little cubby hole. Oh, hang on, let's try that again. Leave them there, and then stomp, firefly goes up, and now I can actually stomp this guy off the ceiling. Let's lead this all the way back. Oh, wait, well, didn't mean to quite do that yet. Need to get this guy involved and over into the light, and not where I am, actually. So let's lead the Firefly out of the way if possible. There we go. Alright, so let's pull you... Oh, no, I need the Firefly, actually. But I need to not be in the way of the Firefly. The Way of the Firefly sounds like a martial arts movie. So moving on to the left, there we go. So now we've got our little purple guy involved, and we also need to bring a frog to the party. Oh, whoa, hang on. Oh, I didn't mean to knock him off the platform. Sorry. This, part of the puzzle gets to be a little bit more complicated just in the fact that there's so many elements that we have to manage at the same time. Yeah, you get worked up over there. I'm gonna stay out of the light if possible. No, don't follow me that far. Okay, we're all good to go. And let's lead one of these Fireflies up a little bit more. No, I want the frog. That's alright. We'll just go back. The Firefly should already be pretty much in place. And, whoa, no, you're fine. Just need to pull it one more over, stomp to go up, and there we go. We should have the frog. Nope. Close. Is that? Nope. The block is in the way. Hang on, let's lead him over, and then now straight up. There we go. Alright, the light is now directly on the frog, and that means he's happy enough to go down. Let's get the light back on the frog again. There we go. And he will now be brought back to the nest. And now I just need a lift from this guy. And as long as I stay out of the light, I am safe to grab a bubble ride, and we can actually leave this little cave area. Really, really lovely area. I actually quite liked it. The puzzles here definitely made me think a little bit more than the previous area, and I think that is the case. The progression, the difficulty curve seems lovely in this game. As we've gone forward, each level has been just a little bit more challenging than the last, but it's never been frustrating. So where does that take us? Now we've got a panning view across this rocky valley, and we're into another cave, actually. So I think this is probably a pretty good moment to wrap things up. I've gotten a very lovely taste of what Toki Tori 2 has to offer. I'm psyched to play a lot more of this game, actually. This is a game that I could possibly see doing a Let's Play on. Possibly. I don't know, I kind of have my plate a little bit full at the moment with all the other stuff going on, but I really am enjoying the puzzles to it, and I'm told there may even be a level editor involved, which is so right up my alley. So, I haven't designed too many puzzles in the past, but it's something that I could see messing around with and having a good time. So in this case, we'd have to knock this guy off that platform and deactivate those masks. Anyway, as always, as we wrap this episode up, the links for all the stuff to do with this game are going to be available right in the description. So if you want to go check this one out, you can go grab it yourself. It should be out as of the time of this upload going up. So if you see this upload, the game should be available right now on Steam. I'm not sure of the pricing, but, you know, as I said, the link will be available for you to check out. Other than that, though, I also have all my social media links and stuff in the description, so feel free to check that out. This guy does not want to cooperate. We need to, I guess, stomp him into submission, and then maybe he'll want to lead. Or maybe he doesn't even want to follow me. Maybe he just goes on... Yeah, I think he just goes on his own path here, and we just have to follow him. But as always, I will close out the episode with our usual little closing plugs. Oh, no, I think this is the point where I do need to actually mess with him. Yeah, I should have stomped on the ground there. So it requires a little bit of patience and a little bit of observational skills, which I was missing out on there. But yeah, as always, if you want to head over to my website, is indie-impressions.com. You can see all the old episodes in the archive. I've got over 450 different games for you guys to check out. Lots of really interesting, different, unique, artistic indie games. And plenty more to come. A new episode every single day. Forgot to stomp there. Kind of messed myself up. But other than the website, I've also got facebook.com/indieimpressions if you want to check that out. Leave a like on it. Helps me out a little bit. You will get each day's new video delivered into your Facebook stream, as well as all kinds of little updates when I go live on streams, occasional game giveaways and contests, and all kinds of other little goodies like that. Oh, not sure how these guys are reacting now. We've activated a light bolt. And this guy's going to move out of the way. Maybe I can knock this down and then use it as a moving light source. Yeah, I think that may be the case. But other than that, I also have a... other than the Facebook, rather, I also have a Twitter handle, which is @RockLeeSmile. So if you'd like to follow me over there, feel free to do so. I announce plenty of stuff over there. More personal news. Always an easy place to reach me if you want to have a chat about something indie-related or let me know about a game. And that is another thing. I also do take recommendations for the show, so if you're a viewer or an indie dev alike, feel free to get in contact with me about the possibility of checking out your game on the show. Aside from Twitter, I also do have a contact form. Oh, I think I have to actually kill myself there to restart that puzzle. But the contact form's right over on indie-impressions.com, so feel free to get in contact with me. I'm happy to talk to anybody about pretty much anything. So I look forward to hearing from you, and I'll just keep knocking that poor beetle into that electrical storm. But that is going to do it, guys. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. Please do check this game out. It's a lot of fun, a very cool game. I definitely enjoyed it, and I think you might as well if you're up for a very refreshing and interesting puzzle game. So I hope you come back again tomorrow for another episode. Again, a new one every single day. Please do tell a friend if you don't mind. That's really the best way for the show to continue to grow and help spread the word about awesome indie games that seem to be getting passed up often, is the case anyway. Toki Tori 2, though, I have a feeling is going to have a pretty bright future in its future. But that is it, guys. Thank you so much. I will talk to you again tomorrow. Have a lovely night.